Once upon a time, a long time ago, in the city of Los Angeles, California, a happy couple were blessed with a beautiful baby boy named Joshua. But one fateful morning, they discovered that not only was their son diagnosed with autism and Asperger's syndrome, but he was also cursed to be a human-horse hybrid for as long as he was alive. Desperate to protect their son, the family moved from Los Angeles to Mission Viejo. As the young Mustang boy was growing up, he was living a life that felt like a real roller coaster. Despite being considered as an outcast by several people and going through several surgeries, he made a lot of close friends. He gained a sweet sister and a special goddaughter. He explored many states and countries, performed in several stage musicals, and became an Eagle Scout in 2009. But little did the young Mustang Prince know that it would be prophesied that during his adult age, he would soon succumb to darkness and do the bidding of the evil witch who cursed him and to this day still haunts his nightmares. How very interesting. It seems that the Mustang Prince does have a certain weak spot. But I wonder what he'll be blogging today. Well, might as well tune into his show and find out.
Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well folks, this is it. Today's the day that I close the book on the Shrek quadrilogy. Man, can't believe how far Shrek has gone throughout the years. What started out as a children's book in 1990 soon became an Oscar-winning animated film, followed by 3 big-screen sequels, a 3D midquel, a couple Halloween and Christmas specials, a Broadway musical that my musical Theater Village friends are currently performing starting this weekend, and a spin-off movie in 2011, which will be getting a sequel this December. By the way, during the making of these video blogs, I noticed a little pattern with these Ogre films. All the Shrek movies were released in May, and they're all 3 years apart. Isn't that funny? And of course, Musical Theater Village beginning Shrek the Musical performances in late May is pretty much a huge coincidence. Anyway, you guys are probably wondering, what are my thoughts on Shrek's 4th movie? Well, let's not waste any more time. Released on May 21st, 2010, the movie is Shrek Forever After, aka The Final Chapter. Now, on for the plot of the movie. The once hideous ogre Shrek is now living a good life with his wife, Princess Fiona, and his 3 children, Fergus, Farkle, and Felicia. But soon, Shrek has a raging meltdown in front of them and his friends during his kid's first birthday party. He suddenly wants to be a real ogre like he was before he ever met and rescued Fiona. So, he turns to the devious deal-maker Rumpelstiltskin for help. At first, Shrek lives the life he once had, and everything is good. But he soon finds out that he had been set up by Rumpelstiltskin, who now rules far, far away with an iron fist. Teaming up with his friends, Donkey, Fiona, Puss in Boots, and the Ogre Rebellion, Shrek is in for the fight of his life as he tries to get his life back before time runs out. So, what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, yes, this movie is not as good compared to the first 2 Shrek films, but it is a slight improvement over the 3rd one. However, nowadays, it's an underrated classic and a genuine effort. And to further explain why I like this movie, let's move on to Mustang Notes. In October 2007, Jeffrey Katzenberg announced a title for the 4th Shrek movie, then known as Shrek Goes Forth, explaining that Shrek goes out into the world forth. In May 2009, however, DreamWorks Animation retitled the film to Shrek Forever After, indicating that it would be the last in the Shrek series. In November 2009, Bill DeMusk, head of creative production at DreamWorks Animation, confirmed all that was loved about Shrek in the first film is brought to the final film. Tim Sullivan was hired to write the script in March 2005, but was later replaced by Darren Lemke and Josh Klausner. Klausner stated regarding the script's evolution that when he first came onto the project, it wasn't supposed to be the final chapter. There were originally gonna be 5 Shrek movies. Then, about a year into development, Jeffrey Katzenberg decided that the story that they'd come up with was the right way for Shrek's journey to end, which was incredibly flattering. In May 2007, shortly before the release of the third film, it was announced that Mike Mitchell would come on board to direct the new movie. Much of the film was written and recorded in New York City. As for the animation, well, to me, DreamWorks CGI animation is still excellent, and I was absolutely surprised with how they designed the alternate dimension created through Rumpelstiltskin's magical contracts. At first, it seems all fine during the montage where Shrek is happily scaring villagers and animals, but then it becomes very twisted when it's revealed that this dimension is an alternate reality where Shrek never existed, and Rumpelstiltskin now rules far, far away, which has now become run down and decrepit, except for Rumpelstiltskin's enormous and luxurious palace. Not only that, but Shrek's swamp has become dried up and uninhabited, and his house has never been excavated. The dragon's keep is abandoned, and the lava has drained out. Also, Gingy has become a gladiator, partaking in gambles. The 3 little pigs and the big bad wolf are now Rumpelstiltskin's slaves. Pinocchio and his father are living in poverty. Arthur Pendragon, who's absent in this movie, never left Worcestershire and is still the laughingstock of the Academy. And the Poison Apple Bar, which during the beginning of the movie is known as the Happy Apple Restaurant, has been abandoned. However, this movie doesn't really show whatever became of Farquaad, Charming, Fairy Godmother, or the other villains in this alternate dimension. As for the story, well, to sum it up, it's basically a Shrek version of It's a Wonderful Life, which I kind of mentioned during my blog of the Baker King last year. And to me, it's a little predictable, but still well executed. Plus, there are a few moments that are very epic, dark, twisted, and thought-provoking, as well as some moments that brought back memories from the first 3 movies. Also, in my eyes, the opening montage was a bit repetitive for Shrek's day-to-day family life due to him having no rest or time for himself, and I really felt sympathy for poor Shrek. Plus, watching this movie again kind of makes me wish that I could relive a day from my early childhood, since that was a time where things were simple and easy for me. But then again, if that ever did happen, then all my hard work and achievements would be wasted. Plus, my favorite moments in this movie is the part where Shrek and Donkey escape from Rumpelstiltskin's palace on a broomstick while rocking out to the Click Click song by Light FM featuring Lloyd Hemmings, and the scene where Shrek and Fiona work together to chain up and defeat Dragon. Also, I love the movie's finale where they play a reprise of I'm a Believer from the first Shrek movie, only this time it's sung by Weezer. Also, I must mention that when I saw this movie in theaters, I saw it in IMAX 3D, which was a really amazing experience for me back then. Plus, what made it more special was seeing it with my Aunt Debbie and my oldest cousin Shane. And a couple months later, I got to re-watch it on an airplane while flying home from Italy. And now let's move on to the characters and the voice actors. The title character Shrek is once again voiced by Mike Myers, best known from Wayne's World, Austin Powers, The Cat in the Hat, and Bohemian Rhapsody. Like in the last 3 films, Shrek is still a cool, brave, caring, but hot-tempered ogre. And during this movie, Shrek is now a father with 3 children. However, he's grown steadily weary of being a family man and a beloved celebrity, which leads to him longing for the days when he felt like a real ogre, where he used to be feared by everybody and had privacy in his swamp. But after making a deal with Rumpelstiltskin, Shrek realizes that the day that Rumpelstiltskin erased was the day he was born, meaning that he never existed in this world before, and he's unrecognized by everybody he knows. Which also makes Shrek realize that he didn't know what he had until it was gone. Also, throughout his Ogre for a Day deal, Shrek must find a way to get his life back, otherwise he'll fade from existence. Next we have Donkey, voiced by Eddie Murphy, best known from Dr. Dolittle, The Nutty Professor, Norbit, Disney's Mulan, Dreamgirls, and The Haunted Mansion, which will be getting a remake next year. During the beginning of the movie, Donkey is still considered as Shrek's best friend, who's the father to 6 hyper-drunky children, and he's Dragon's husband. However, in Rumpelstiltskin's universe, Donkey is afraid of Shrek and other evil fairy tale creatures. Also, Donkey has messy fur in this universe, probably from the witches beating him up and whipping him. Plus, he's forced to sing the songs that only the witches like, which is one of many cruel jobs that Donkey has been hired for, which also included working for Old MacDonald. However, I still think Donkey is a hilarious character, especially during that scene where he has eyeballs in his nose. And he's also very helpful when he uses origami to help Shrek find his contract's exit clause, which just happens to be true love's kiss. Next we come to Shrek's wife, Princess Fiona, voiced by Cameron Diaz, whom I remember from The Mask, Charlie's Angels, The Holiday, and the atrocious 2014 Annie film. During the beginning of the movie, Fiona is a loving and loyal ogress wife who helps provide for her husband and her children. But in the alternate dimension, Fiona is now the leader of the Ogre Rebellion, and because Shrek was never born, it's revealed that Fiona rescued herself from the Dragon's Keep. To me, this version of Fiona is very badass and abrasive. Plus, she refuses to believe in love, and she seems more focused in putting an end to Rumpelstiltskin's reign. Throughout the night of Shrek's day, Shrek attempts to woo her, but fails multiple times. But after Shrek turns himself in to Rumpelstiltskin to save the ogres, and later leads the Ogre Rebellion to victory, Fiona realizes that she and Shrek make a great team before Shrek starts to disappear. Next we come to Puss in Boots, voiced by Antonio Banderas, best known from Evita, the first 3 Spy Kids movies, the Zorro movies, and the second SpongeBob movie. To me, Puss is still a great friend and ally to Shrek, and I like that he's still an awesome Zorro-style swords cat. However, in the alternate dimension, Puss has retired from swordsmanship, and he's become obese and shiftless, as well as becoming Fiona's pet, which kind of makes him a lot more like Garfield compared to how he was in the last 2 films. However, I found it really awesome when Puss gets his hat, belt, sword, and boots back on, while he and Donkey lead the ogres in a battle against Rumpelstiltskin's forces, and he helps save Shrek and Fiona from Dragon. Next we come to Shrek's new enemy, Rumpelstiltskin, voiced by Walt Dorn, who used to work as a writer, director, and storyboard director for Season 2 of SpongeBob SquarePants, and he voiced Cloud Guy in DreamWorks Troll movies. For those who may not remember, Rumpelstiltskin is a strange little man from the Brothers Grimm fairy tale of the same name, who helps a miller's daughter spin straw into gold so that the king can marry her and make her his queen, on the condition that she gives him her firstborn baby. But thankfully, Rumpelstiltskin makes a deal that he'll give up his claim to the child if she can guess his name right. Now, as I said in my blog of Muppet Classic Theater 2 years ago, Rumpelstiltskin is one of my all-time favorite fairy tales. And even though he appears on ABC's Once Upon a Time, I feel like he should get his own Disney animated film someday. Anyway, in this film, Rumpelstiltskin has a personal vendetta against Shrek, as the latter's rescue of Princess Fiona in the first film foiled Rumpel's plot to take over Far, Far Away, and he vows revenge on Shrek. Later, Rumpelstiltskin takes advantage of Shrek's growing frustration with parental life by striking a magical deal where Shrek could be an ogre for a day. Unfortunately, Rumpel takes the day that Shrek was born and creates an alternate reality where Fiona was never rescued and Rumpel ascended to power. To me, Stiltskin is way more threatening compared to Farquaad, Charming, and Fairy Godmother, but at the same time, he is pretty silly, kind of like the Jester from Legends of Oz: Dorothy's Return. Also, I find it pretty interesting that Rumpelstiltskin has a giant magical goose named Fifi, who's not only his pet, but also his personal bodyguard and carriage puller. Rumpelstiltskin's henchmen, or rather henchwomen, the witches, are voiced by Lake Bell, Kathy Griffin, Mary Kay Place, and Kristen Schaal. While Griselda sticks out the most, I think they are equally as nasty as Rumpelstiltskin, and they display vicious behavior for most of the movie. Plus, they have nasty weapons for capturing their victims, like chains with skulls and pumpkin bombs. Also to note, they are reminiscent to the Wicked Witch of the West, whom was my enemy when I received my big break as the great and powerful Wizard of Oz at Musical Theater Village back in summer 2010. Another character to talk about is the Pied Piper, whose flute playing is provided by the late American jazz flutist Jeremy Steig, the son of Shrek's author William Steig. This character serves as a bounty hunter whom is hired by Rumpelstiltskin to capture the ogres by forcing them to dance and follow him with his enchanted flute. He can handle different species like rats, ogres, witches, or even objects like Rumpelstiltskin's socks by setting the target dial of his flute. Also, the idea of the Pied Piper using his flute to communicate kind of makes me think of the snowman from Santa vs. the Snowman. Also, the Pied Piper makes an appearance in the Shrek Broadway musical, where Princess Fiona assists him in his rat charming duties. Finally, we come to Brogan, Gretchen, and Cookie, 3 ogres from the Ogre Rebellion, voiced by John Hamm, Jane Lynch, and Craig Robinson. I find them to be memorable characters too. You see, Brogan is the second in command, and he's willing to help any other ogre. Gretchen is one of the strong soldiers, and Cookie is the chef of the resistance, and he uses food as his weapons. Also, I find it pretty cool that these ogres can make horn sounds with their ears by blowing like this. And now let's move on to my final words. Well, like I said before, Shrek Forever After is a real underrated classic and an epic finale to a beloved and famous animated fairy tale masterpiece. Sure, it can never top the first 2 movies, but it's still an improvement over the third film. The CGI animation is awesome, and while the story is a little predictable, with a few other flaws here and there, the movie makes up for it with epic and nostalgic moments, as well as some dark, twisted, and thought-provoking scenes. The characters are still lovable as they were in the past 3 films. The new villain, Rumpelstiltskin, is a very threatening and silly character, and the ending will surely bring happy tears to all Shrek fans. As for my rating, I'll give it an 80% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. But before I go, I'd like to remind all you viewers that I'll be performing as Thelonious, aka the Captain of the Guards, and the Bishop in Shrek the Musical with Musical Theater Village. And the shows will be running until June 26. And if you'd like to see the show for yourselves, go to this link for ticket information. Also, I must announce that Shrek the Musical will be the last stage show that I'll be performing in. That is, until this coming fall. Anyway, be sure to join me on Memorial Day for a very special blog. Mustang Power. Oh, and of course, like Shrek and Fiona, I'd like to wish you a happily ever after.
Well, this is just too perfect. It seems that the Mustang Prince has lost his acting spirit. This means more power has returned. Immortality is at hand. Soon, my bats will cause another COVID spike upon California and kill all those wannabe actors in that pathetic little community theater. And soon afterwards, the world will suffer with him. Soon, Joshua, your time will come, and you'll be the one to blame.